Jessii Vee, and today I thought I would wear a top to signify what the video is about. It says I cannot relate to 99% of humanity because what we're about to talk about is really bizarre things that people have done at Disney World. Things that make you think, are they serious right now? It just blows my mind that people do so many stupid things. And basically, I just can't relate. No, this shirt is a bit obnoxious. I probably wouldn't wear it in public, but for a video, it's fine. Just get ready to be utterly shocked by what I'm about to tell you because I always think that Disney World is such a pure, happy place where nothing bad happens, but that's not exactly true. There are so many bad things that happen there that Disney World tries to keep under wraps, but I'm gonna expose all these things. I'm surprised I haven't been like kidnapped by Disney yet. Before we get started, I just want to mention something brand new on my merch website. Because it is back to school really soon, and I know you guys don't really want to think about that, I'm so sorry. But because it is coming up, we have some back to school locker packs. There's only a handful of them available, but it's a pack of posters and pictures that you could put up in your locker, which I find really cool. So if you would like one of these limited edition packs, the link is down below in the description. But yeah, let's get into the very bizarre things that happen at Disney World and Disneyland. I feel like this list is kind of mixed up between Disneyland and Disney World, so take it for what it is. Also, I cannot stop touching these bows on my shirt. Like, I'm literally gonna pull them off and be so upset with myself. I'm like one of those people where if you give me something to fiddle with, I will break it. The first thing we're gonna talk about is a couple that tried to smuggle a baby onto Space Mountain. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a couple was in line to ride Space Mountain when their duffel bag started making noise. So obviously the cast member that worked on that ride asked about the bag. He was like, hey, is there something in there? The couple refused to open the duffel bag, so obviously this person got really suspicious and called security. When security arrived at the ride and opened the bag, there was a baby inside. It was only 6 months old, and the reason why the couple put it into the bag is because obviously a baby that small cannot go on the ride, and they really wanted to ride the ride. So for selfish reasons, they smuggled the baby. I feel like a lot of things happen on Space Mountain. I don't know what it is about that ride, but there's just bad luck there. The next thing I have mentioned on this channel before, but for those of you who didn't know, you're in for a treat. People often try to spread their loved ones' ashes in the Haunted Mansion. I don't know why they choose the Haunted Mansion, but it only happens there. At both Walt Disney World and Disneyland, employees have caught people trying to spread their deceased ashes on one of the park's most iconic rides. The thing is, more often than not, these people get caught in the act, and then they have to shut down the whole entire ride for hours and hours while they clean it up. I just honestly don't know what the appeal is of spreading their ashes there. Is it because they hope their loved one will haunt the ride? Because that's really messed up. The next thing is that a Tarzan cast member saved a boy from drowning. There was a young boy who fell into the Tom Sawyer Island Lagoon, and the only one that was right there to save him was a cast member dressed as Tarzan. What's kind of funny is that the cast member didn't break character when he jumped into the water. He literally acted exactly like Tarzan would. It says that when Tarzan saved the boy and gave him back to his mother, he said, "Keep boy safe. Tarzan very brave, but everybody can be hero." And then he ran off like, oh. This next thing that happened, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So there was this family of 4 who went to Cinderella's castle for dinner. About halfway through the dinner, the husband politely stands up and taps his glass for attention. So everyone sitting in the restaurant turns and looks at him, and the whole room is silent. And then he announced that his wife of 15 years had been cheating on him the last year. Ugh. The entire place apparently stood still in shock, and then he took his kids, paid the waiter, and left his wife sitting at the table crying. And it was so awkward for everybody in that restaurant. I mean, I feel bad for the guy because that's a horrible situation, but did he have to tell the whole place? But like, shame on her for doing that. And what's crazy is that happened in 2004, and that was the same year that I went to Disney World. So I'm glad we didn't choose that day to go to Cinderella's castle. The next fact is that Tigger punched a kid in the face. Yes. In 2007, there was this family that went to a meet and greet at Disneyland with Tigger. And at some point while this family was taking pictures with Tigger, Tigger eventually punched this 14-year-old in the face. There's actually video footage of it, which I can't show on my channel for copyright purposes. But here's the thing. I was watching the video and like it looked like the 14-year-old started it. I'm not saying that Tigger should have punched him, obviously, but the kid was really like tugging at him and bothering him. And I think this kid hit Tigger's last nerve, but still, you don't punch kids. Yeah, it says the punch kind of looked like Tigger was trying to defend himself. I don't know. The next thing is so sad. It's called the balloon cutter. There was this man at Walt Disney World who was walking around with a pair of scissors in the park. He looked really, really sketchy, and he was walking up behind kids who were holding Disney World balloons, and he was cutting the string. So the balloon would just go up into the sky, and the child would be left crying, and he was like going up to little kids doing that all over the park. The parents of these children were trying to tell security in the park, but they were never able to actually find this man. So this balloon cutter is still out in the wild and he might strike again. But like, let's be real, you have to be messed up to want to do that to somebody. Like, those kids are just walking around the park enjoying their day with their little balloon and you want to go and just messed up, man. This next one is really, really gross. So, oh no. There was this huge parade at Disney World, like there usually is. And there was this cast member who was playing Dumbo in this parade. Now, just to give you some rules of the Disney World park, if you are a cast member, you cannot take off your head in front of anybody. You can't take it off in the park whatsoever. You have to be safely in a staff room or safely in the tunnels underground to take off your head. Because if you do that in front of kids, you'll ruin their entire childhood and you'll get fired immediately. So there was this guy who was playing Dumbo at this parade, and those costumes are really, really hot, especially when you're out there in like 40-degree weather, 40 degrees Celsius. What is that Fahrenheit? So he's going through this parade, hours are going by, he's sweating, he's starting to feel really, really nauseous and like he's going to throw up, and he knows that he can't take off his Dumbo head. So what he does is, unfortunately, he throws up right into the Dumbo head and it came out of Dumbo's trunk. So all these kids are watching Dumbo throw up. Ugh. I feel really bad for the guy because he had to wear that Dumbo head for another hour and it probably smelled horrible, but he kept his job, so. Speaking of parades, this next fact is actually really dark and really sad and not funny at all. It's called the death of Pluto. You guys might have heard of this in the news. There was this 30-year-old cast member who played Pluto who unfortunately died in 2004 during a parade. It was called the Dream Come True parade that would go across the main central streets of the park. And apparently this employee who dressed as Pluto was run over by one of the parade floats. It was in front of everybody, it was a huge tragedy, and there was apparently a huge investigation that went on there because there wasn't enough safety regulations when that happened. So now Disney is a lot stricter when it comes to keeping employees far away from the floats. And it just sucks because it takes something so horrible like that to happen for them to enforce those rules. It's just really sad. On a lighter note, this next thing is called the pee jar. There was this lady who was walking around Disney with her child holding this huge glass jar in her hands. And instead of having her child go to the washroom in the park, she would have him pee into this jar and she would continue walking around the park. Now obviously she was stopped by employees and they were like, you can't do that. But she was like, oh no, I'll take it back to my car, don't worry. But apparently she did not and continued taking it around the park, and I'm pretty sure she was banned. I mean, it's not hard to take your kid to a washroom, you know what I mean? There's probably thousands around the park. The next thing is that a couple tried to tie their kids to a fence. We have some really great parenting in this video, don't we? So apparently there was a child who was wearing one of those like leashes that parents put on their kids and walk around with. I don't necessarily agree with that. I feel like your child's not a dog. But some parents do that. I guess if your kid is like really hyper and runs around. I find it so weird. Anyways, these two parents and their kid on a leash wanted to go on a ride, but they found out that the kid was too short to go on this ride. So the parents decided they would tie their kid with the leash to a fence in the park while they went on the ride. So this child is like screaming and trying to get away from this fence. He's literally tied to it. So police were called and these parents got in huge trouble, and This poor kid. The next thing is that an employee at the park came face to face with a panther. A panther got into the park. So there was an employee who was delivering stuff around 3 a.m. because once the park is closed, that is the time that people clean up, they fix rides, they do all of their maintenance and stuff. So this employee is walking around at 3 a.m. and suddenly he sees a pair of glowing eyes in front of him and notices that it is a full-grown Florida panther. It says that he backed away at full speed, ran into a building, closed a door, and stayed in there for an hour until he knew the coast was clear. That is so freaky how a panther can just easily get into a Disney park. No. Anyway, so guys, those are all of the bizarre Disney things that have happened at parks that I'm going to be talking about. If I missed anything huge, definitely comment it down below. And don't forget, if you would like the back to school locker pack, the link is in the description. But I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!